Hello everyone and welcome to another video of mine. Now today I'm going to build a NAS out of this old Dell computer. Now I do want to say that this is a build video, not a tutorial. If you're looking for a tutorial, I would definitely recommend you look for another video. But anyway, let me get you through the process of how I'm going to make a NAS out of this old Dell. First I want to say that this build video is done as a super cheap. I either got all of these parts for super cheap or I got them for free. I wanna do this so I can show you guys that anyone can build a NAS. It's recycled parts as well. You'll see that later when I go over the overview. And because I'm a cheap fuck and I quite frankly don't like to spend money when I can. But anyway, let me show you all the parts that I got for this build. Now let's start off with the main attraction of this video. This Dell Optiplex 7010 with an i5 3570, 8GB of DDR3 memory, and a graphics card that I actually don't care about. It's a little nugget thing, but it's going to get removed anyway. This Dell Optiplex I actually got for free when a company was going to get rid of a bunch of computers. Most of them were junk, but this one was actually, you know, pretty modern, or well, at least pretty modern for the standard I usually find for free. And a bunch of other parts with it as well. Some of them you'll see in this video, others you won't. But anyway, yeah, all you need for a NAS is just a normal regular computer. They're not that much different, honestly. As you can see, this is how I got it, except, you know, way less filthier because I already cleaned it out. I don't know who installed the RAM like this. Please don't install your RAM like this. This is just both in single channel, but whatever. But yeah, no drives, a weak little graphics card which I don't need anyway, but plenty of space to store what I want in there. So yeah, this computer is perfect to build a NAS out of. Second part that I got is a kit of 8GB DDR3, so I can have a total of 16GB DDR3 in my machine. You don't actually need 16GB in most use cases, but I want to make this NAS, you know, a little bit multi-purpose. But yeah, depending on what you run, you might not need it, but I figure I can have it. I got actually 8GB DDR3 extra in the system, but some of you might recognize this is the 8GB that I use in the €150 build that I did 4 years ago. What I've done is actually the 8GB that I got for free with the PC, actually put it in that build because those were 4 sticks and these are 2 sticks of 8GB. So I took the 4 sticks in there and took the 2 GB sticks that were in there out. So I can have 16 total in this one. So technically I didn't pay for these, but I also did. I just traded them with something that I got for free. Is that free? Is that paid? I don't know, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Either way, what I know is that I'm getting 16GB in my NAS. Next up, the drives that I'm going to use in this build. These 3 hard drives I actually got for free with the Dell that I got, and these are each 1TB. So I'm getting 3TB for my NAS storage, which is pretty much a lot. I've already cleared these, and I know they're a bit risky because, you know, you're using recycled hard drives, but like I said, I'm doing this on the super cheap. That's the risk you take. But these are just going to be for my storage. To actually put my image on something, you need a separate hard drive. And that's what this little SSD is for. This is a Samsung 250GB SSD. I also got this for free once because this one was actually broken. What happened was that when I was repairing a laptop, he dropped the laptop and this hard drive was behaving very strangely. So we replaced the SSD and he told me to keep this one. So what I've done is actually just give it a good old throw it in the oven and hope it works again. But it did work again, and that's how I got a free SSD. And that's what I'm going to use as my boot drive, which is very nice. Now that you've seen the drives, on to the next part. These are the next part. These are all for the hard drives. These are the adapters that I need, and these are the SATA cables. These are 5¼ inch to 3½ inch, and these are 3½ inch to 2½ inch adapters. So the 3½ inch adapter I 3D printed because I'm using it for the SSD. I've touched the SSD while it was in use for like a solid hour when clearing it, and the SSD didn't even get hot. So I'm very confident with using 3D printed parts. But the hard drives did get pretty hot, some of them even too hot to hold for a long while, so that's why I got these metal brackets. For these metal brackets I actually only paid $10 for the both of them, so that's a pretty good deal. And for the cables, I'm using just some SATA cables that I had laying around, so I'm not gonna count the price on them. Let's be honest, fellas, anyone who's building PCs has a box full of these. We hoard them, okay? So yeah, these are for free basically. But on to the next part. And on to the next part. The next part are just some cosmetic parts. The first part is actually the base covers, because as you could see, the PC came without a base cover, but I'm actually planning to use both, so that's why I printed it twice. And I've actually 3D printed one. The file of this one you can find at the link in the description below. But yeah, I printed these. I painted these with some leftover paint I had from like a previous project, so that didn't cost me extra money as well. And then the PC will be nice and closed off. The next part I got is just this cheap RGB strip that I got from Action. These are like $3. Honestly, they just look cool. That's the little only reason that I got them. But now that you guys have seen all the parts, let's start with building the computer. First up, we remove the GPU, because the NAS doesn't need a graphics card. Then, because this is an old computer, we replace the thermal paste and then check the CPU socket, and then... What you just heard was my hopes and dreams shattering. Because when I lifted the CPU to check the socket, it turns out there was a pin 180 degrees bent. This shows the reason why this PC was thrown away. And there is little you can do to bend this pin back, because it will probably snap off. But when I looked up the CPU socket pinout, it turns out this is a ground pin, and because it's a ground pin, there is likely chance for this to still work. So with that knowledge, I decided to put the CPU with some fresh thermal paste back in there and test it out. So I plug in the monitor and then the power, and the PC tries to start up, but nothing. Okay, that's just first time, maybe it's just trying to post, so let's try that again. We try again, but nothing. Uh-oh, this isn't looking good. Third time, but again, nothing. This is looking pretty down, honestly. We try for a fourth time, and this time the monitor is picking something up, but it's not showing an image. And then it shuts down again, but this is promising at least. And then for the fifth time, it finally booted up.
Yes!
Woo! As you can hear from my ecstatic noises, I was pretty happy, honestly. But next up, I had to see if the processor is still properly working. I did this with the help of a Windows disk that I had laying around. First thing I tried was a Cinebench R15 Benchmark, and it gave me a score of 494. People online report a score of 510, but I'd say this is close enough. And then I did an IDA64 stress test for over an hour. This also showed that the CPU isn't boosting to its max boost frequency of 3.8 GHz, but this is something I'm easily willing to live with, and it shows that it's going at least past its 3.4 GHz, so it's boosting somewhat, so I would call this processor stable. So now that we know the CPU is stable, let's continue the build video. So now we'll just put one of the memory stick into its right position, and adding 8GB of memory. But just to be sure, I did the quick mem test and it showed that all the memory is okay, it passed, so I'll assume everything is still fine. Next up, I put the 3.5 to 5.25 adapters onto the hard drives, and then I put the 2.5 to 3.5 adapter on the SSD, but that didn't go as planned, but you'll see that in a second. After that, it was just installing all the drives, and here is where I came across a little hiccup.
I just realized something. We have a bit of an issue, which is basically that if you plug in the SATA power in this adapter, and then you plug this all in, let me actually unplug it back again. As you can see, the cable is going to be too short for both. Like, once I plug it in here, there's just nothing for the drive on top of that, and I really need that. So, I'm going to reprint something for that. In the meanwhile, I'm just gonna leave this drive loose, but I'll show you here an insert of how I did it properly, okay? Anyway, let's continue.
After that little oopsie was explained, all it did was just simply install all the drives into this computer. After that, it was just simply installing through NAS and then configuring it, and then I had my little NAS machine ready to go. I also did a little bit of cable management. I also installed the RGB strip so that it looks a little cooler. And last, I put the drive bay covers on the front panel, put the front panel on the PC, and closed it all off.
And there we have it. The NAS is complete. Now I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. It's been months since you guys saw that build, so like months have elapsed. I did this to 100% test out this NAS and see if it works. And I'm glad to report it hasn't caught fire yet. It still keeps my data. So yes, I would say this works. Now, should you be doing the same? Honestly, if you have the experience, the time, and willing to have a headache like I had, sure, why not? But there's definitely a challenge out of making a NAS with parts that cost basically nothing. Like all of these were almost scrapped. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's something for everyone, because like I said, there's a little bit of a headache behind it. But anyway, I still enjoyed it. I'm having fun with this NAS, it gave me new knowledge, so I would call this a success. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe and all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!